Oh, hi. As you can see, I'm in Baldi's super schoolhouse, and I've gotten every single activity wrong. Clearly I'll be here for a while, so perhaps I can give you some tips so you can prevent yourself from being in my situation. Items are by far the most useful mechanic in this entire game, but I'm sure that's obvious to all of you. Knowing which items to hold on to, however, can be a matter of life and death. And I'm not just talking about having the higher value items, I'm talking about what types of items to hold on to. Disregarding life-saving items, the general layout I like to go with is an offensive item, a stealth item, a movement item, and some kind of niche item that'll benefit me in a different kind of way. This last slot is one I like to have open at all times, usually saved for insurance items or any kind of low-tier item I happen to come across. While having, let's say, 5 B sodas may seem like an insanely good item layout, it won't save you from every single scenario. Having all kinds of item types will give you at least one, if not many ways out of almost any scenario you find yourself in. The one exception to this is items that will save your life, such as the apple or the dangerous teleporter. These items require little to no effort to use and will get you out of literally every scenario. So it's usually fine to have these items take up more slots if possible. Speaking of items, items are valuable, okay? We can't just be using them all frivolously as if they're disposable. No. Items deserve so much more. Which is why almost all of them should be directed towards Baldi himself. Think about it. What is your biggest and only real threat going into a floor? Baldi. Since he's the only character who can end your run, it's important to save your items unless you know they'll be vital to your survival, or if you can make sure they'll give you lots of distance between you and Baldi. Using items on other characters can be helpful short term, but most of the time having to interact with other characters won't end your run, and at worst will just throw you off track. Not to mention using an item like the B soda on the principal just gets you in trouble. If you must use an item against other characters, try to use the less valuable ones and save the more important items on Baldi himself, as he's your true enemy. So, you know how I said items are valuable and precious and must be treated with respect? Well, forget all of that, because items are actually entirely disposable. Oh god! Okay, not exactly. Technically, all items could be considered disposable, but when I talk about disposable items, I mean ones you just pick up and use right away without any real strategy behind doing so, such as eating a Zesty bar or putting on a super stretchy glove right as you find them. Disposable items are specifically ones that give you a long-lasting effect. This may seem like an odd strategy, but there's actually quite a few benefits that disposable items can provide. For one, you'll be able to gather item effects without actually needing empty slots to hold on to them. Those techno boots you just put on don't require you to ditch any of your other good items. It may be minor or short lasting, but these benefits can add up to make your run just a bit easier. Another reason disposable items can be helpful is that they can lead you to forming strategies on the fly that you may not have previously considered. Take the faculty name tag, for example. You may have put it on with no reason in mind, but you'll find yourself playing with the effect in mind, running around without having to worry about any of the other characters getting in the way of more risky maneuvers. The only downside I could see to this strategy would be needing those items later in a run for when they'll be more useful. If you think you may need a disposable item later on, you don't have to use it. Okay, enough about items. Despite them being the core of strategy and plus, there's actually plenty of other ways to get an edge in this game. Blue lockers are a pretty useful tool for evading other characters, or even hiding from Baldi if you have the right items. Compared to all the things you can do with him, my favorite would by far be the stalling method. In version 0.10, a change was made to the blue lockers that made them impossible to hide in forever, as Baldi would force you out of one if he saw you inside. While this may seem like it makes blue lockers worse, it actually has a key mechanic that can help you if you know how to use it. Before Baldi kicks you out of the locker, he stops and says, "I know you're in there," during which he is completely stalled for a few seconds. How nice of him to let you leave the locker at your own leisure. With this mechanic in mind, here's the basics of the blue locker stalling strategy. If Baldi's chasing you and he's faster than you or you're out of stamina, hop into a nearby blue locker. Right when Baldi begins his voice line, leave the locker and keep moving forward. This will give you just a few seconds of safety, but any distance made between you and Baldi is always useful. What's even better about blue locker stalling is that it works the same no matter how fast Baldi is, giving you an edge in even the most impossible scenarios. Hey, I didn't say all of these tips will be equally helpful. We've got a tight budget here, not every tip will blow your mind. Bonus questions may seem like they're just one of many ways of obtaining a few extra YTPs. And they are. But, unlike other methods of earning YTPs, Bonus questions actually serve a very useful gameplay purpose that can make the endgame of a floor much easier. The best parts about bonus questions is that they both refill your stamina and stall Baldi by having him congratulate you. Both of these combined can give you a pretty good amount of distance between you and Baldi. And by the time bonus questions are in play, Baldi will be fast enough to warrant needing that extra distance. As I make my way to all of the elevators, I find myself using bonus questions to keep Baldi at bay and make a clean getaway around the entire school. Not to mention the extra YTPs are a nice treat. And with bonus questions being worth double of normal questions, you can rack up quite a hefty amount of them. There is one risk with bonus questions, and that's the more difficult activities you may find them as. Activities such as Balloon Buster and Match Machine are much more time consuming than the Math Machine, and while they do award more YTPs, sometimes that extra time makes them not worth going for. It's ultimately up to you to choose which classrooms you think are worth going for, but it's always worth considering bonus questions during the endgame as they can really help you out. We all love structures here, right? Not you. Structures may seem basic on the surface, but with some creative thinking, you can take advantage of them in some pretty interesting ways. And to prove this, I'll be giving a tip for every single prominent structure in the game. Hiding inside a room with a vent typically leads to Baldi running straight into the vent, which can give you a lot of extra time away from him depending on the vent length. When closing a lockdown door, other characters will no longer pass through it, even though you can still fit under it for a few more seconds. This can be used to lose track of Baldi really easily. Roto halls are a bit more niche, but if you can reach the button, you can rotate the hall with you inside, giving you an easy escape from Baldi, who may be right on your tail. Use water fountains. Just, in general, they're so useful. Also, you can use a super stretchy glove to access these things from across the map, which can give you basically infinite stamina if there's enough of them. Because teleporters will notify Baldi when you exit them, it can be risky if he ends up being nearby. One thing you can do to prevent this is to let Baldi chase you all the way into the teleporter room and enter it right as he's about to get you, making there be guaranteed distance between the two of you. This one I learned from my good pal Skellybone05.
Shut up.
Okay. Valves are great to have on during the escape sequence, especially if they're in a more open area. These things have saved my life countless times by giving me a safe corner to hide in, so flip these on whenever you can after you've collected all the notebooks. The conveyor belts in the factory floor can be used as a safe spot or as a quick escape by using the techno boots to walk over them, or the super stretchy glove to hit the button without needing to be close. Both of these items make the factory floor in general just much easier. And yes, even the dreaded faculty-only door has a helpful use. Standing close to one and having it closed can be helpful if Baldi happens to be chasing you from the other side of the door. This can be used to completely lose him, or just regain some stamina. Hopefully all of that proved that structures are actually your best friend, and they can single-handedly win you the entire game! What do you mean I didn't mention the merry-go-round? Okay, this one is definitely niche and might be a bit more technical, but holding doors open is incredibly useful during high-level play. To explain what I mean by holding doors open, when clicking on an already open door, you'll reset its cooldown for closing, all without notifying Baldi. This also works for doors that were opened by other characters, so you can use this method to slip out of rooms completely undetected. The most useful application for this is being sent to detention in Lights Out, as you can hide from Baldi as he comes into the room, then hold the door open behind him and leave it open until he's far enough away for you to escape without ever making a sound. There's plenty of other situations this can be used in, but that's the one I find myself using the most. Although, with the new sticker update coming in just a few days, I'm wondering how viable this strategy will be whenever you can apply stickers that leave doors open for much longer. At least with this method, you can hold doors open forever compared to the still temporary time with the stickers. Now I'm wondering if this method will be patched out now that there's going to be a more natural way of keeping doors open longer. Mistman, please don't. Now we're getting into the more positioning-based tips. To explain what I mean by let Baldi follow you, let me tell you about the dreaded Floor 1 curse. You'll be getting a head start, running around the school and grabbing a few notebooks, when all of a sudden, BAM! Baldi cuts you off right as you grab the last notebook. The reason this happens is due to the small size of the school and the fact that Baldi cannot hear sounds you make until he finishes counting down. By the time he's chasing you, you're likely already on a different side of the school, so he'll be heading straight towards the other direction to cut you off. There's not much of a way to avoid this on Floor 1, other than maybe checking lots of faculty rooms at the start, but that doesn't mean you can't take this information and use it on later floors. When Baldi is closer behind you, there's no risk of him unexpectedly cutting you off. Of course, it's not always good to let Baldi follow you, especially if he's built up a ton of speed. But this is a good tip to keep in mind, as sometimes you have a straightforward path to grab all the notebooks and want to keep Baldi in check as you cruise along with no distractions. Now that you know how useful it can be to keep Baldi close by and locked onto you, Here's how you can easily make him lose track of you. Because of the way Baldi's pathfinding works, just running down short, winding hallways can make Baldi forget he was ever chasing you. It's one of the easiest ways to evade Baldi, even at higher speeds, and doesn't even require any kind of structure or item, so try to take advantage of any kind of smaller hallway whenever you see it. Even aside from Baldi, the benefits of winding hallways stack up, as they make it easier to evade other characters such as playtime, and make it harder to become guilty breaking rules, since the principal is less likely to see you compared to a long, straight hallway. Just be careful you aren't caught inside of one of these hallways, as many items such as the bee soda and Nanopeel are basically useless inside these tiny halls. Stick around at your own risk. Not all notebooks are created equal. Some are just more difficult than others, like a powered off room that needs to be turned on or one of these match machine rooms. It can be tempting to grab these notebooks right as you see them, but sometimes it's better to be more patient and focus on collecting what's difficult at the start while Baldi is too slow to pose any kind of meaningful threat. This especially helps with the maintenance floor, as getting all the powered rooms out of the way at the start makes this floor a breeze. And that was my long, life-changing list of tips for Baldi's Basics Plus. While I personally find all of these quite useful, one final thing I should note is that you can technically ignore all of this. Sometimes you have a certain playstyle that suits you better, or you just don't find these tips to be helpful to you personally. These tips are more meant to give you an idea on different ways you can approach challenges in this game, rather than being a handwritten Bible that will guarantee victory every single time. There's enough chaos in Baldi's Basics Plus that you can make whatever strategies you want on the fly and have them work flawlessly. And I think that's just beautiful. Anyways, I've been holding this door open for long enough. It's time to make my grand escape. The open house is about to begin. Things are about to get crowded. No!